There's a simple and pure satisfaction to physics simulators like Hello Falling Sand and other such games that harkens back to the halcyon days of a youth spent in sandboxes and on beaches. Just a child and the impossibly vast shores of the imagination. This magical state of being, somewhere between hazy memory and impossible nostalgia, is where Noita lives. The genre says roguelite, which isn't a lie per se, but at the same time, it's the greatest lie of all. You see, when you first start Noita, the game funnels you into the dungeon with some pleasantly unobtrusive tutorial stones lining up to get you started. In the beginning hours of your time, you will laugh and marvel at the game engine that harkens back to those glowing moments of your youth. Blowing things up, kicking them around, piling and pooling and igniting and freezing and electrifying and melting, and just sinking into the beautiful toy this game exists inside of. Eventually, you focus up and make your way deeper, in the halting fashion of any roguelite game, where death strips you of any progress that doesn't exist in your newly obtained knowledge and freshly ingrained muscle memory. For some players, this will loop on until the electrifying moment the boss lays dead at their feet and victory is achieved. For most, something even more magical will happen first. A particular spell, potion, perk, or quirk of level generation will happen, and you will discover the true beating heart of Noita. You see, the thing about those physics simulator games of the Flash era of yore, and those sparkling days building sandcastles on a sprawling shore, is that they are nothing more than vehicles for your imagination and creativity. Unlimited stories and games are contained in those grains of sand. That sandcastle, battered by the waves of an incoming tide, stands as a beacon to a fallen kingdom, holding ancient artifacts in its treasury in the form of seashells and hermit crabs. Noita understands that magic, and make no mistake, that is what Noita is about. You see, one day you break out of that dungeon and discover that it makes up a barely appreciable fraction of the game's map. To the east, you will find a lake with a mysterious instrument that plays music. A vast desert lies beyond that, littered with the debris of some lost civilization, and a mighty pyramid replete with strange markers and symbols, and containing its own dungeon. To the west, beyond a massive tree, lies a frozen wasteland with its own mysterious symbols and secrets, a vast lake, a wicker man, and yet more dungeons. The world is huge and holds all these strange hints and secrets, and so you start experimenting with them. You discover new bosses, new biomes, new challenges, and mysteries that transform your time with the game from a standard roguelite loop into something else entirely. You find yourself creating your own quests and challenges around these tablets and forgotten journals, and the game knows that you will. Completing them rewards you with new spells, and the massive tree beside the dungeon literally grows pillars into the heavens to record your achievements. Everything about Noita is built to feel magical, arcane, and waiting to be discovered by you. Even the borders to the world can be surpassed to reveal parallel worlds. Do you want to plunder the goods and magics of several worlds? Go for it. The only limits in Noita are literally the ones imposed by your hardware. You can become a godlike wizard who literally commands celestial bodies. Noita captures the journey only a childlike wonder can take you on, from a pile of Legos to an epic battle between all your toys. Only in this case, it's from a rote dungeon crawl to conquering an entire world of magic and mysticism. The stories I've collected while playing Noita are too numerous to count, but I can tell you that the ones that stick with me the most are the first times. Accidentally blasting a hole in the wall and discovering the outside world utterly entranced me. Wandering this desert and realizing that I could dig as far down here as I could in the dungeon was staggering. I was frozen in place with indecision. Do I dig down and discover what lies below this desert floor, or do I continue east and see what lies across the sandy horizon? I opted to wander the desert, just a lone witch with 2 starter wands, half their health, and a mostly full bottle of water. This all culminated in me dying in a dark pyramid, laughing like a fool because suddenly this game I thought I knew stood before me as an inviting stranger. Every time I died experimenting with a new combination of spells and perks, every new boss, every new biome, and every new secret I stumbled across is a sparkling jewel in my memory. Laughing, often along with Twitch chat, as I explode to an unnoticed tank of propane or from an errant buzzsaw from my own wand slicing me in half. Or, of course, the hilarity that comes from tripping on mushrooms so hard that all the stone in the game world turns into lava. That's right, you can change fundamental properties of the game world as a normal part of gameplay in this game. Assuming, of course, you're the kind of player who tries eating everything in a game, which I am. There's one quest in Noita that involves finding several hidden statues, collecting a broken spell, repairing that spell, figuring out where to cast that spell, and finally going through the portal it creates, that, it entranced me for several weeks. Eventually, I pulled off all of the various stages and figured out its secrets, and I collected my prize. Weeks of effort finally came together. It was one of the most exciting gaming moments of my recent memory. The reward was a spell that clearly stated that casting it was a terrible idea, and that it was hidden, as it was, for a good reason. The excellent lore implications aside, I of course cast the spell, and died horribly. I love that. I love that so very much. I later learned that you can survive casting if you're very careful, and you earn a very nice reward that I won't spoil for you. Now, some folks would balk at this. Such a long series of obtuse events only to earn something that dangerous? That's just bad game design. That's a mean joke. Those people are wrong, and they should feel bad. Alchemy has always been a dangerous pursuit, and this game pulls no punches in that regard. Alright, I've sung a lot of praise here without really addressing gameplay at all, so let's brass tacks for a little bit, shall we? Noita, as you may have inferred from earlier, is a roguelite set inside of an engine where every single pixel of the game world is simulated. Things will fall, burn, freeze, condense, and so on. You can watch the trailer if you want a full list of the adjectives. You go about the game collecting spells, wands, perks, and items. Items can take the form of potions, magical rocks that contain elemental power, mystical little tents that will heal you, all kinds of weird stuff. You can arrange spells inside of wands in any fashion you desire, with the only limitations being the stats of the wands you find and buy. This makes for some incredible emergent gameplay as you find your favorite combinations and improvise when you find yourself lacking familiar tools. And of course, blowing yourself up when you don't quite put together how these different pieces will interact when you click the button, which is one of my favorite parts of the game, of course. The perks that you get will change how your character behaves and interacts with various properties, and so you adapt your wands and spells around that. Are you immune to explosions? Let's get Mega Man in this place. Can you breathe underwater and have immunity to electricity? Well, it's time to flood this world and toss in a magical toaster. Each run has its own vast canvas of possibility when it comes to the magics you will conjure. Many spells and abilities obviously capitalize on the engine, of course, transmuting and collapsing the cavern walls around you as you spelunk in search of the ultimate alchemical truths. The game itself has many secrets, challenges, and achievements for you to find and conquer, enough to keep you busy for many hundreds of hours. After that, the modding community has you covered until the sun expands and consumes us all. Mods change up everything. You want the game to be a persistent Metroidvania? Done. Warhammer Power Fantasy? Got you covered. You want to just add a really big gun? Go get him, Eastwood. Noita has given me hundreds of hours of joy, both as a game and as a time machine to recapture the shimmering memories of discovery among a pile of sand and some lapping waves. If you just want another roguelite to entertain yourself with, Noita can scratch that itch. But what I really hope you take away from this review is that Noita can be so very much more, if you allow it to be. Sink into its many mysteries and allow it to take you somewhere just a little bit more magical. And remember to always laugh when you die, because death is just another step in your long journey to becoming the ultimate Noita. This has been Chris here at Shake the Box, and I hope you enjoyed my love letter to Noita, a game I literally cannot stop playing. As always, check out some of these other videos floating on the screen. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more, and comment below with some of your favorite stories from Noita, because I love listening to people's stories about discovering secrets, blowing themselves up, making overpowered wands, and all that goodness.